President Donald Trump signed an executive order creating a strategic Bitcoin reserve, marking a major shift in federal crypto policy. The reserve, described as a digital Fort Knox, will initially consist of Bitcoin seized in criminal cases, according to White House crypto advisor David Sachs. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent confirmed plans to explore broader cryptocurrency acquisitions to strengthen economic resilience. Well, joining me for more on this, I have Ola Atose, founder and CEO of KoinKoin. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Well, looking at cryptocurrencies as strategic reserve, I know that a lot of us expected Trump to do something in that line, but maybe not as much as this. I mean, did you expect something as big as this? Talk to us.
Well, it's been expected, for a while. Donald Trump did promise to give us a Bitcoin reserve, and that's exactly what we got. We didn't get the fireworks we were expecting.
By fireworks, what do you mean?
Well, we expected, to revisit the highs. I think Bitcoin has hit 110K in value, and the view was we would see a continual increase, in price. But that didn't happen. Of course, there are other things going on in the global economy. But the Bitcoin reserve in and of itself is a good idea. I feel that Bitcoin, for what it's worth, there'll only ever be 21 million coins. It's a very scarce, if you like, a digital commodity. And there is some common sense in trying to, amass as many of it as you can, not to sell, but to obviously use as a hedge against inflation, I would say.
But when this announcement was made, we saw 5% depreciation, and for me, I didn't expect that. And some are saying, well, it's because since they're not buying, they're not acquiring immediately. That's the U.S. is not acquiring immediately. Maybe that was what investors reacted to.
Not necessarily. So if you remember last year, January, we had the Bitcoin ETFs go live, about 12, 13 of them, I believe. And there wasn't an immediate reaction in Bitcoin from January. But as you could see where we are now to compare to where we were last year, we're still more than double, I think 42K, well, at least right now, we went more than double that price we were over the course of the whole of last year. So I feel that, despite the fact that there's not been a knee-jerk reaction, you can be rest assured that in the coming months, and I believe I've said this before, if Bitcoin is something you like it a little bit more. So, now's the time.
Interesting. Yes, apart from the sister assets, which of course will form the initial number for the U.S. strategic reserve, how do you think the country is going to go about acquiring more?
Well, of course, one of the things I noted that the President of the United States said was, as long as it doesn't cost the taxpayer and there's a means for them to acquire, they'll acquire. One of the things we've noted in America is some of the states are willing to spend 10% or at least 10% of public funds or any surplus funds they have, on acquiring Bitcoin. So I feel that that will be joint also at the federal level, and there'll be some sort of intention to use any surplus funds to, purchase Bitcoins, and of course use that as an offset to some of the debt that nation has.
All right, I'll come to some very important conversations around this, but let's just start with technicalities. So if you are someone who is vested in this, are you going to buy, sell, or hold?
Well, right now?
Yes.
Well, with the disclaimer that I am not a financial advisor, if it were me, I would choose to hold, right now. We note that on the election night, we bumped from 73K all the way to 84K, I think it was. There's a low at 73K, and the understanding is a lot of guys have been buying at 76, 77. So it's buy and hold, for me, if I had enough money to buy Bitcoin, that is. Now,
talk to us. I mean, keeping Bitcoin as, a long-term store of value, aren't you seeing risks as much as you're also seeing opportunities there?
Well, these risks have been in place for a while, and over the years, we've talked about this, and, we've seen Bitcoin continue to rise. There are a number of players on the private side, other than obviously the ETFs, but, the likes of MicroStrategy, who've continually bought Bitcoin. And, for those who have been doing it for quite a while, they've been able to, get the most of it from the very lows of below $1 to where we now are. So I personally think that Bitcoin is here to stay, and for lack of a better way of putting it, Bitcoin is the future.
What about the risks? Aren't you looking at all of those? Whether it is valuation, whether it is the volatility, or it could be any of those. I mean, how do we mitigate these risks?
Of course. So yes, I think it's a valid point to say that Bitcoin can be seen as a risky asset. The volatility, as you mentioned, what happens when markets go down. I mean, we saw a drop in the Dow of over 1,000 points yesterday, and Bitcoin also went down. So it is a concern, for investors, and a lot of investors are now, sort of as part of their portfolio, are putting some monies into Bitcoin, but enough such that it doesn't hurt their overall, portfolio, and their overall, their assets that they hold. I feel that as time goes on, depending on the outcome of the ongoing trade war, which I would like to think won't last forever, I think the market will settle down, and I think we'll get.
Why do you think it won't last forever? So how long are you looking at? 1 year, 6 months, 2 years maximum?
Well, I'd like to think it won't last so long. I think there is, with regards to logic in, the tariffs or whatnot, depends on how you look at it. A lot of people feel that the tariffs would only hurt, local consumers, and of course, local consumers will then hold their money and won't be looking to invest, and this is why you'll see reactions in the market, and that obviously may lead to some sort of, obviously not just inflation, but you could have a situation where you could see a recession. But the reality is that, once those who put the tariffs in place get the value thereafter, or the pound of flesh, if you like, I think the tariffs will slowly come off, right? And again, we've seen situations whereby tariffs go on one day, they come off the other day. I think the markets don't like the inconsistency, but as time goes on, I think, there won't be this sort of yo-yo between tariffs today, tariffs tomorrow. And I think ultimately across the markets, we'll see a calm down at some point.
I hope so too. Now, how will this affect global financial landscape, this strategic, Bitcoin reserve?
Well, I mean, for one, I feel that if you look at what we've done across different markets, different governments have done over the years, you have situations whereby, you have the sovereign wealth funds, which of course, a number of, countries have chosen to do. Some countries have chosen to focus more on the private side as opposed to the government doing it. And I think this is now seen as a new way of, if you like, as I mentioned earlier, hedging inflation and holding on to something which will continuously yield in value. So if you're holding dollar-based assets, which could depreciate based on the value of the dollar, you have Bitcoin. And
what's the intrinsic value? Does it have intrinsic value?
Indeed, it does.
How?
I know this is a question everybody asks. Well,
yes.
as I mentioned earlier, every single node or Bitcoin node, a block, if you like, has every single transaction ever made in Bitcoin, right? So until such time that the quantum computers are strong enough to, if you like, hack the blockchain, which we don't see happening anytime soon, but again, I don't know. We believe that the intrinsic value is in the fact that, you can have, a finite amount of coins or tokens given in reward for solving the complex equations. So the finite amount is 21 million. That's the reward you get. As long as people see value and keep on buying and holding these tokens, then you will see an increase in its price. And that's the trajectory we've been on for years now. So.
All right, I'd like us to close with this. I mean, what's the Nigerian experience? Is Nigeria going to learn from what's happening? Do we see that happening? And what has been the posture of regulators so far?
Well, it's been very positive. The regulators, not just here in Nigeria in SEC, but also across Africa, have started to sort of come up with draft guidelines for cryptocurrencies and virtual assets. And I feel that every African nation is now aware. And I also believe they're aware of the many benefits, not just for financial inclusion, but as I'd like to say, wealth creation. And I would certainly urge, our regulators, here in this region to make sure, we get regulated soon.
I thought the journey started already in Nigeria.
Well, we have. A number of firms have been regulated, and we hope that, our firm will also be regulated in due course.
Okay, so there are those who are waiting.
Of course, yes. Yes, we're working hard.
What's the delay about? Is it about meeting certain, conditions, or what exactly is that about?
So, if you ask about Nigeria specifically, it's not just to do with the conditions. There's been a lot of applications, and of course, the regulator has to go through each application with a fine-tooth comb.
The ease of doing business.
Of course, we have to make sure. Indeed, we have to make sure there's enough knowledge out there. People are trained accordingly, and of course, from our perspective, with the experience we bring. We want to work closely with the regulator to make sure that, they keep tabs on us, we keep tabs on them, and work together to create a better framework. So there's a lot of back and forth between ourselves and them, and, we're cautiously optimistic that we'll see, we'll have the gold medal of regulation soon.
When you say cautiously optimistic, that's not totally positive.
Well,
cautiously optimistic. I think you should just be optimistic.
I am optimistic.
All
of course I am. I am optimistic. But at the same time, we have to be, again, we're working closely with the regulator, and we're very hopeful that we'll be able to move very soon.
All right. I wish you all the very best, and thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.